Every person who comes after gets measured against the ghost of what you were. Not because the avoidant wants you back, not because they regret how it ended, but because you did something to their nervous system that no one else has been able to replicate. You made them feel something while simultaneously making them feel safe enough to run from it. That combination becomes the benchmark every future connection fails to meet. Number 1. You became the template for what emotional intensity should feel like without feeling threatening. The avoidant experienced something with you that their psychology rarely permits. Genuine emotional engagement that didn't immediately trigger complete shutdown. You created a specific ratio of closeness to safety that allowed them to feel connected without feeling consumed. This ratio becomes their standard. Every person afterward gets unconsciously evaluated against this impossible metric. Do they generate the same depth of feeling you did, but with the same level of tolerance for distance? The avoidant doesn't consciously think about this comparison. They simply notice that new connections feel either too demanding or too shallow, too intense or too indifferent, always missing the precise calibration you somehow achieved. You're the standard because you represented the furthest point into intimacy their nervous system traveled before retreat became necessary. No one else has brought them that close to vulnerability, so no one else registers as significant enough to fully invest in. Subscribe to understand the attachment patterns shaping connections people can't consciously explain. Number 2. You represent the version of themselves they were briefly capable of becoming. The avoidant doesn't just compare others to you. They compare their current self to the person they were when they were with you. You unlocked a version of them that felt more emotionally available, more present, more capable of sustaining connection than their default state allows. That version becomes their internal standard for what they're capable of in relationship. And everyone after you gets measured against whether they can inspire that same transformation. The brutal truth is that no one can, because the version of themselves they became with you wasn't sustainable. It was a temporary override of their attachment system that eventually collapsed under the weight of their core wiring. They compare others to you not because those others are lacking, but because no one else has the exact combination of qualities that temporarily disrupted their defense mechanisms enough to access that more available self. You're the standard for the impossible, making them someone they fundamentally are not. Number 3. You're the evidence that their attachment style costs them something real. Before you, the avoidant could tell themselves that their emotional unavailability didn't matter, that the connections they lost weren't worth the vulnerability required to maintain them. You shattered that narrative. You became proof that there are people worth the discomfort of intimacy, relationships worth the anxiety of staying present. Connections that feel like loss when they end rather than relief. Every person after you gets compared to this realization. The avoidant measures new connections against the question, does this person make me feel like I'm missing something by staying detached the way you did? The answer is almost always no. Not because those people lack value, but because you exist in their psychology as the singular exception that proved their avoidance has consequences. You're the standard by which they measure not just other people, but the cost of continuing to live behind their walls. You don't haunt them as the one who got away. You haunt them as the one who proved that getting away from connection costs something they can feel.